completely understand. I feel the same way. I've got 2 young kids. I want to make sure our parks are for communities and families. That's what they're for. You got to make sure that our main streets are for people who are going to enjoy their community, and community members have access to small businesses, and small businesses succeed. We want successful main streets, and we want communities that thrive. But we live in a wealthy and successful country, and we can make sure we have access to our parks. You know, encampments in our parks, it's not an acceptable solution. People on our streets and our main streets living on the street is not an acceptable solution. We can deliver on the communities that we all deserve while ensuring that we're treating people with the basic equality of concern, respect, and dignity that they deserve.
That deal with the issue of the corruption of the $400 million of stolen money by Liberal appointees. I thought Mr. Erskine-Smith had more integrity than that, than to not be worried about $400
Point of order.
million
Like, what is this absolute bullshit?
taxpayers.
This is absolute bullshit.
Whoa.
Come on.
Okay, all right.
Come on. My integrity?
Let's,
you can fuck
okay.
right off.
Okay. All right. Mr. Perkins, I'm going to ask you to get back on topic. I'm going to ask Mr. Erskine-Smith. I understand your irritation. First of all, your language. I'm going to ask you to retract your language.
I'll retract when he retracts. He impugned my integrity, deeply unparliamentary.
All right,
and we can both retract, Chair.
Canadian Press.
Hi, Minister. Thanks for being here this morning. I just wonder if you can elaborate a little bit more as to why deals couldn't be reached with Ontario and Saskatchewan. I know you said that there was issues with regards to the provinces wanting to match the money the federal government was putting in. Just wondering if you can elaborate a little bit more on that specifically.
Yeah, so this was before my time. I did speak with the minister in Ontario, and he indicated there was always an openness to reaching a deal, and things went sideways for one reason or another. Obviously, timeliness was a consideration here. When you're looking at when winter's coming, you got to make sure that you're delivering all the supports you need in a real short period of time, and at the end of the day, we just need to get these deals done, and so had to reach directly to municipalities. It's not the first time, of course. We're struggling. The Canada Housing Infrastructure Program, Canada Housing Infrastructure Fund, it's a $6 billion fund over 10 years. It's $5 billion, though, to cut provincial deals. It's, again, focused on not just housing and enabling infrastructure, but focused on making sure that provinces that are accepting that money are cutting red tape and upzoning. And here, again, other provinces are open to deals, and we're really struggling to reach a deal with Ontario. Again, you know, there's an expression of openness. I just don't know if we're going to get there. And where we can't get there, where provinces aren't willing to deal, there are any number of municipalities across this country who are experiencing struggles on homelessness and with housing, and they want our federal money, and they want to do the right thing, and we're going to partner with them where we can.
Just understanding it was before your time, but on the price matching or cost matching side of things, do you have figures as far as what was being asked of Ontario and what was being asked of Saskatchewan specifically?
Yeah, so you'll see it in the background. It was about for both jurisdictions. It's about $91 million that would have been cost matched, and in Ontario, I think it's just over $85 million that would have been cost matched. These aren't huge sums of money. I mean, you know, Ontario should come to the table. The only thing I would emphasize, they are putting some dollars on the table for homelessness. I mean, the real frustration, at the end of the day, we are going to continue to see a homelessness crisis in this country if housing is not affordable. We don't have deeply affordable, especially rental housing, but if we don't have deeply affordable community housing for people, we're going to have this struggle in an ongoing way. You know, my kids are going to be my age, and we're going to have the same struggle, same as it ever was. And we've got to make sure there's long-term bipartisan commitments to social housing in this country, or we're going to continue to do the same thing over and over again.
24 hours, we've seen some high-profile endorsements from Mark Carney from cabinet ministers. These, of course, are people who served with Chrystia Freeland. I'm wondering why you think that people who served with Chrystia Freeland would obviously know her personally, would then choose Mark Carney over her.
I think there are two ways to think about that. I mean, sometimes people have their own personal dynamics and, you know, get along with someone in one particular way or don't. I mean, you'll also see cabinet ministers that endorse Chrystia too, and you know, you see a lot of my 416 colleagues that are doing the same. So people have loyalties and relationships, and that's a big part of our politics, as it should be. I think the second part of it is that people are grappling with is what's our best foot forward, and what's our best foot forward in an election where you've got Pierre Poilievre and I know the question is more about the sort of internal dynamics of the race, but here I'm talking about housing. You have a leader of the Conservative Party right now who, when asked about social housing investments, he said government's got to get out of the way entirely. This is someone who has compared co-op housing. Like I was born in co-op housing, and this guy's comparing it to Soviet-style housing, completely demeaning the very idea of community and co-op housing that, in many ways, has delivered affordability throughout our country's history. We used to have a bipartisan consensus on this, and this is a guy who wants to tear, common sense cuts, basically. Like, I lived through Mike Harris, and my parents were both teachers, and this is Mike Harris all over again. And so I really worry about that, and I think a lot of us as Liberals are grappling with who's the best foot forward to make sure we can protect our progress and build on the progress and really push aside the Reform Party politics that has taken that Conservative Party in a really negative direction.
Mark Carney's the person who's going to be most likely to win?
Some, I mean, and some feel differently. I mean, it's what from what I've seen, it's been pretty mixed so far in terms of cabinet endorsements and Liberal endorsements. But look, they both offer a really serious contribution. I mean, think of Mark Carney. I think his performance on the Daily Show was good. But apart from that, this is someone who, we are in a moment of crisis right now, and this is someone who helped Canada navigate through the Great Recession. You've got, and the financial crisis. You've got, he's someone who helped Britain navigate through the difficult and challenging political circumstances of Brexit.
Wanted to get your thoughts on Mark Carney and your relationship with him while you were Prime Minister of the United Kingdom, and any advice you have to Canadians who think he might make a good Prime Minister.
Well, Mark Carney was Governor of the Bank of England, and under his tenure, too much money was printed, which did damage to the British economy and put our economy off track. He, at the last election, endorsed Rachel Reeves' economic policy. She's now become Chancellor. It's been a disaster for Britain. The country is heading for bankruptcy.
And, you contrast that with Pierre Poilievre, who in the COVID crisis, when asked about government supports, he said they were big fat government programs and we should just cut red tape and cut taxes. How many small businesses would have gone bankrupt? How many people would have been out on out of employment and out of supports if that person had been Prime Minister in a crisis? So I do think people are looking for leadership, and they're looking for who's going to deliver the real leadership we need. When you look across the aisle and you see sort of cartoon slogans and snippy attacks, and we need better than that.
Of the corruption of the $400 million of stolen money by Liberal appointees. I thought Mr. Erskine-Smith had more integrity than that, than to worried about $400
Point of order.
million
What is this
stolen
absolute
from
bullshit?
taxpayers.
This is absolute bullshit.
Whoa.
Come on.
Okay,
Come on,
all right.
Come on. My integrity?
Let's,
fuck right off.
Okay, all right. Mr. Perkins, I'm going to ask you to get back on topic. I'm going to ask Mr. Erskine-Smith, I understand your irritation. First of all, your language. I'm going to ask you to retract